Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's log. Subject 221201.4. Dear God, it's finally here. The season of Moistmas is upon us. I'm a little bit scared. Can we skip this one or simply replace it with something more inclusive, like euthanasia? Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. As today is December the 1st, you're going to be noticing a lot more content on this channel. I'm not apologetic for that in the slightest, I just thought I'd remind you that is what is going to happen for this month. Today we're going to start with motivational speaking. Bit of a strange one, but don't worry, we're going to use Wayne Rooney for it. Wayne Rooney in the United Kingdom is somewhat legendary. He was for Everton and Manchester United an amazing striker, and then Cam later on in his career. He was very energetic, very passionate about the game, not the greatest speaker. He also, for some odd reason, couldn't stay true to his wife and repeatedly cheated on her. As more controversies around his marital affairs decided to just happen over the last 20 years, I'm surprised she didn't stick an ankle bracelet on him. Since retiring from the professional ranks, he has started to make a name for himself as a manager. He actually did quite well with Derby, but they went into administration and his salary as a player manager and then manager was quite high. So he has taken his career somewhere else, to America, where his looks and voice and money count for absolutely nothing. He doesn't have the star power of that of David Beckham or even Cristiano Ronaldo, who I believe just scored a £173 million a year deal in Saudi Arabia. For Wayne Rooney, he has taken up the management post of DC United. This season, after 34 games, they have won 7, drawn 6, lost 21, have 27 points with a goal difference of -35, the lowest, the worst goal difference, and of the Eastern and Western Conference, of 28 teams, they're bottom. They're not doing very well. So understandably, Wayne Rooney has to inspire them. And how is he going to do that? He is going to try and relate to them. Now, I do want to make a point. Firstly, there isn't as much money in American football, MLS, as there is in the United Kingdom. A lot of these players don't make anywhere near the levels of money, nor have the talent, no offense intended, to that of the European counterparts. Even though they did hold America, that is US, team more notably England, to a draw in the World Cup. That was embarrassing. So as to best relate to his teammates, to show them that much like Eminem, it is possible to make your way out of the hood and make it big and do really, really well. Trying not to smile while saying that is impossible when you hear what I have to say next. He has told a tale about his small manhood. Right. A close source to the team said it was very funny and he hoped using personal references would make it look like the speech was from the heart. But the majority of his side were left bemused and struggled to understand what his sex life and size of his manhood had anything to do with what was happening on the pitch. And there's a point there. I guess it's nowhere near the levels of Alex Ferguson throwing a shoe at David Beckham's head, but it's certainly in the ballpark of dragging your team onto the pitch during half-time to give them a bollocking in front of their fans, which I thought was hilarious at the same time and did in fact happen. If this worked with Derby, just saying this might be a loss in translation. You've got to remember here, Wayne Rooney is a Scouser, and therefore it is nigh on impossible to understand anything that comes out of that dribbling thunderfeck's mouth. So next I'd like to briefly talk about someone called Kathleen Perry. Kathleen Perry is a con artist who managed to, on 2 separate occasions, possibly more, convince pensioners by knocking at their door that she would arrest them if they didn't hand over their bank cards and PIN numbers. What was the charge, you ask? For molesting a child. When one of those targets is in their late 60s, early 70s, the response time isn't going to be as fast as someone younger who would instantly say, then arrest me. Or you simply shut your door and say without a warrant, sod off. In this instance, Kathleen Perry and her associate, Emma Fuggle, not to be confused with Fugler, although they are both fugglers in their own way, not collectible. went to the ATM nearest to them, took out on one occasion 2 lots of £250, to then return the card to the elderly gentleman, the first of 2, and saying that they're going to be back the next day. He then made a phone call to his family indicating he had been robbed. A month earlier, they'd done it to a vulnerable 69-year-old woman who lived alone. Knocking on the door to pretend to be from social services, they told her that her neighbour had ordered some bedding which needed paying for. That neighbour had died, but she didn't know that, indicating that the dead woman's family would reimburse her if she handed over a bank card and PIN number. They withdrew a total of £220. Both Emma Fuggle and Kathleen Perry had been remanded into custody, and they were in fact found guilty of 4 counts of theft, 2 counts of fraud by false representation. What's rather amusing is, one of them didn't actually attend in person at Maidstone Crown Court because they thought it was supposed to be via video link. Trial was done in absence. It's not really worthy of a halls of injustice, but you have to be this monumentally stupid to take advantage of the elderly. There is a graph called feck around, which goes up, and find out, which goes across. The more you feck about, the more you find out. Do you understand that while in custody? So next I want to talk about Thought Talk. What is Thought Talk, you ask? Thought Talk is one of the many areas of TikTok that is just infested with thoughts. They use it as a reason to promote their Instagram, which is always linked at the top, which in turn then links to a link tree, which in turn then links to only Fupa. Apparently what we're now going to talk about is worthy of an entire article by The Sun, courtesy of Clara A. Walker, a 19-year-old cheerleader, because people have been telling her her uniform is not appropriate. I quickly went and grabbed the Thought Talk in question, and it's playing on the screen now. Because I can't play the audio, yes, there'd be problems. Don't you just love the YouTube copyright system? No? Just me. Okay, fantastic. In this instance, people have been requesting in the comments section of her TikToks to wear undergarments of some kind, because that in turn could help prevent the fabled and dreaded of slippage. To which she has responded with, no. If you're interested in going and watching her TikToks, you'll notice she does this all the time, and she is no different to any other type of thought. Nothing wrong with being a thought, by the way. You do you, you earn your bread. I just make longer videos, that's how I do it. Because I'm not convinced I'd look anywhere near as good in a cheerleader outfit as I do in a pink dress. Now, because this is Thought Talk, which I can't believe still years later we're still saying I am anyway, the word thought. It's always going to be the case that the majority of the TikToks created by Clara A. Walker are sexually suggestive. I'm just impressed there was an article covering this, since most of my feed is less comedy videos, which is what I normally like, and mostly random supposed healing stone sales, sweets sales, and live streams of people doing magic tricks that aren't magic tricks with weird ambient music in the background. In case you couldn't tell, I'm not best impressed that my nighttime viewing of amusing videos is gone. As we're on TikTok, we may as well continue with somebody else who has decided to showcase their talents by not doing what they were contractually obliged to do, even at the lowly rate they are paid. So they decided to record their response to not doing their job and share it to the tune of 11 million views. Now we know this was done solely for clout, because subsequent views before and after are nowhere near this level, obviously.
Hell nah! I am not cleaning that. I ain't cleaning that. Ashley?
What?
I quit.
Nuh-uh.
I quit.
Get back
I
here!
quit!
Oh, fuck that!
I quit! I'm leaving! Macca's. See you on the flip side, bitch!
After which, they followed it up with the video titled Bruh, where they explained the harassment and the false equivalence.
Why? Harassment and bullying. What? But people post corn and that stays up.
Some have said that those criticising this person are doing it without knowing what it really means to work in fast food. Fast food, like many different employment sectors, is overworked and underpaid. Of course it is. But you're the mug that worked there and you were given duties. Therefore, you must fulfill those, or you are in breach of the contract you signed when you worked there. To compare it to what others can post on TikTok is a false equivalence. Your actions are on you and you alone, no one else. To compare it to something else is to deflect. It is intellectually stunted, and one would expect you to be able to do a little bit better than that. Betch. Perhaps when I covered Clara A. Walker, I should have inserted another fashion-related thing, since her cheerleader outfit, attire, routine, shtick is loosely tied to a form of fashion, the fashion being to wear as little as possible. We can now talk about the brand Diesel. Diesel recently announced a new leather belt, which sounds really dull on the face of it, doesn't it? For $1,400, which is 1,400 euros. About £1,200. Our currencies are not looking so good at the moment. This belt, which is what I'm going to call it because that's what it looks like, is actually being marketed as a mini skirt. And understandably, us on social media have mocked it to high heaven. Here is the offensive material. My first impression was it could be argued to be a title belt of some kind. The title belt of The D. Make of that what you will, there's a joke in there somewhere. But I also thought it looks like a weightlifter's belt, and I'm not surprised it's being worn incorrectly. It's supposed to be higher up, done tighter to help support your body. Wearing it on the hips is not how that's supposed to look. Somebody on TikTok reviewed this, and initially they were super excited to look at it and try it on. At first, she was obsessed with it. However, her tune very quickly changed, and in a follow-up video, she slammed the skirt's packaging for its sloppy design and didn't appreciate the Velcro closure. Were you expecting a clasp or poppers perhaps? At least with Velcro you'll know if someone's trying to take it off you, and wearing clothes like that you certainly don't want to go commando, or sit down, or basically go anywhere that involves any steps. Just thought I'd put it out there. Unless your intention is to wear that over the top of the world's longest hoodie. Or just give it to a man who will wear it in the gym where it's supposed to be worn. But I would argue Velcro's not really suitable for that either, you really want a buckle. So to the final thing I'd like to discuss today, we go to a tweet I put out that was a retweet of Undoomed, where I said simply a plan that was clearly thought through. Undoomed had tweeted out an image with a load of crying emojis. So I went and looked for the article in question, and I found it. Climate activists who have been targeting artworks in recent months have gone and disrupted an orchestra concert at Hamburg's unpronounceable concert hall by gluing themselves to the conductor's podium, which is beautiful while they're busy trying to work, and these climate activists are interrupting these people playing their music because by doing that they care less about the environment and more about their music, and that is selfish. So the activists did what all activists do, and they simply glued their hands to the railing where the conductor is supposed to stand while everyone else is performing for the audience. These two activists are from Germany's Last Generation movement. They began to call for resistance to what they saw as the German government's indecisive climate policy. Would you like to know what happened next? Because it gets quite funny. You see, the post they glued themselves to was detachable, meaning they were relocated elsewhere once Tweedledee and Tweedletwat had themselves removed from the room. Now, of course, when it comes to looking at who is one of the greater polluters on the planet, Germany is in the top 10. Perhaps they could be seen doing something else about it. I still find it quite funny for Germany that they ridiculed Trump when he said that Germany was too dependent on Russia, and now, many years later, he was proven right because Russia turned off the taps, and they're expected to have an incredibly harsh winter. Perhaps they should have listened to him and become more self-reliant, as opposed to dependent on external imports. And while I don't pick on people for appearance usually, why does one look like Frumpy Dumpy and the other look like he's Amish? Just a query. I assume the woman on the left is your mother and she cut your hair with a bowl.